Okay, so I pulled off, over here on the left side, what I did is I pulled off a kindergarten math standard. And I know you guys are not kindergarten teachers in the room, but even if you're first grade, second grade, it would be a different math standard. But the math standard I pulled off on this one is for any number from 1 to 9, find the number that makes 10 when added to the given number by using objects or drawings, and record the answer with a drawing or an equation. Kindergarten. Wow. I was a little surprised to see the word equation in kindergarten. So using fairy tales. So for example, if I'm going to just take this first fairy tale and connect it with kindergarten, the fairy tale of the 3 little pigs. So they're already reading these stories. So if you read the story, and then you let kids explore using straw, popsicle sticks, and Lego blocks as building materials, but here's the thing, we need to connect this math, right? Because here's what I have found for teachers, especially at the elementary level. If I can show you you're actually teaching what you have to teach, then you'll do it. But if it's just a fun little science lab, nobody's got time for that, right? But I have stuff I have to teach. This is cute, this is cool, this is fun. I'll do it after TCAP. I mean, that's just real. But if it will actually teach what I have to teach, then I can use it. So what I want to do is make sure it teaches what they have to teach. So with this, what I would tell them to do is, okay, give them 2 pieces of straw, give them 4 popsicle sticks, give them 6 Lego blocks. Then set out materials tables. First, they're going to start with their equation. They can draw that they have 2 pieces of straw. They can write the number under it, 2. They can draw, they have 4 popsicle sticks, maybe draw or write the number under it. Start their equation. Now they need to go to the table and figure out how many more do they need to add to that to get to 10. So they already have 2 pieces of straw. They go to the table. Now they've got to count up, right? They have their 2, so they're saying 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now how many did I just add to it? They draw the picture. They add it to their equation. They now have 10 pieces of straw. They're going to use these materials to build the little houses, and of course you want to have fun and let them blow it over with their breath or a blow dryer or however you choose to let them blow it over. But they can add additional pieces, because you're going to need more than 10 pieces of straw. But they can add additional pieces, but they would have to increase their equation. They would have to write another equation. So in this way, they are learning the math, because this is what you really wanted them to learn. They've tied it in to their reading, language arts. So they're kind of manipulating with that story a little bit. They had to maybe even get the story details out to begin with. So you're looking at some story details even to begin with before you come up with what they're going to have. And of course, you're using some engineering and some science in there as well. Go to the next one. This is first grade math, and I'm just pulling Goldilocks with this one. The standard says, organize, represent, and interpret data with up to 3 categories. Ask and answer questions about the total number of data points, how many in each category, and how many more or less are in one category than in another. How many of you are math teachers in here? How many of you are just your science? And this is like, huh? And that's first grade. Last year was my first year teaching math and being responsible for all the math. First time I read Common Core Standards, I sat there and said, what in the world did that just say? That doesn't even make sense. But taking this with Goldilocks, we're going to let the students build a new chair for Baby Bear using the constraints in the story. So first of all, you've got to figure out what are the constraints in the story. So you've got your reading, language, arts. You've got to dig into this story and find out what some problems are. What does Baby Bear, what was his chair like? Well, we know that it wasn't too tall because Papa Bear's was too tall, right? We know that it wasn't too hard. We know that it wasn't too soft. We know that it has to hold a certain amount of weight. It doesn't have to hold as much as Papa Bear. You could also make the chair for Goldilocks. And if you make the chair for Goldilocks, then it has to hold obviously more than Baby Bear's chair held. So we've got a little bit of measurement going on in there. But what I would do with this one is I would take my 3 categories and I would say, okay, I've got height, weight, and firmness. Those are my 3 categories. Those are going to be my data points. And then we would start adding to our data points as we are constructing this chair, and we would say, okay, how strong does it have to be? And maybe we would have 3 different bears that are weighted down, and it doesn't need to hold this bear. but it has to be stronger than this one, or strong enough to hold this bear. And so their chair would have to hold that. And maybe their chair would even be better, and it would hold Mama Bear too. So if somebody else came along, they wouldn't break Baby Bear's chair. So you could make it a little bit stronger than just Baby Bear. But they would add their data points. Basically, it's just their measurements. And now they're comparing it. And you would even ask questions like, how much more weight will Papa Bear's chair hold than Baby Bear's? How much taller is Papa Bear's chair than Baby Bear's chair? But you would give them, I would give them, because this is first grade, I would give them their original data points. I would give them, this is how tall Papa Bear's chair is, this is how tall Baby Bear's original chair was, this is the height that it would hold, and I would let them add data points to it based on what their chair did, and just see how it fits in that comparison. With the gingerbread man for second grade math, let the students build a catapult to get the gingerbread man safely across the river. Because remember, he gets eaten by the crocodile. So he needs to get across the river. The standard is generate measurement data by measuring lengths of several objects to the nearest whole unit, or by making repeated measurements of the same object. Show the measurements by making a line plot where the horizontal scale is marked off in whole number units. So basically, you're going to make a catapult, but in shooting this gingerbread man, you're going to take measurements of how far he went, and you're going to put that on that line graph, and you're going to make some adjustments, and you're going to take more measurements. And every time you take a measurement, you're going to have your trial 1, your trial 2, your trial 3. Maybe you'll plot the whole class. Everybody will do it one time. You'll measure it, and you'll plot the whole class all together and see whose gingerbread man made it not only safely across the river, but far enough across the river, or the farthest across the river. But you're actually teaching math. Your purpose in this one is to look at, you've got your story elements, you've got your engineering in there, but you're trying to teach them how to measure. And of course, one thing I have found with students, if I tell them, okay guys, I need to teach you how to use a ruler. Here's why you need to know that. In just a minute, you're going to build a catapult to shoot this gingerbread man across this river, and you're going to have to know how to measure how far he goes. You're going to have to know how to measure. So I'm going to teach you how to measure, and you're going to need to know that in just a minute. They will pay attention so much better to me about the measurement if they know in a moment they're going to do something with that.